Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Ecommerce Insights. I'm your host, Scott DeGrossier. With me today is the esteemed Justin Brenner, famous from AdLeaks Group and many other media buying ventures, if you will. Justin, thanks for joining us. Introduce you to the audience, how did you get involved in ad buying to begin with? And, what was it? I consider you an expert from seeing all the, things you contribute to the forum and on the different Facebook lives and presentations you do. You're mentoring a lot of people. How did you get to that point?
Well, I got started out most people don't know this about me, but I have actually a master's degree in exercise science. And I had a really close friend at the time that was heavy into affiliate marketing. So he's always been extremely influential, very successful. And I was working for the Bureau of Indian Affairs at the time, back in like 2008, 2009. And, I've always wanted to do what he did, but he never wanted to take the time to teach. So he finally brought me under his wing and I started learning affiliate marketing. And it kind of just blew up from there. Started out doing pop traffic with like traffic vans way back in the day, like the ad virus pop-ups that everybody hates and gets. Started doing that and doing some other things. And over the course of time, just kind of migrated to where I am. And a lot of it has just been always having the want and desire to be good at everything. I'm not a big believer in like specializing in focusing on one thing because I've always had, it kind of goes into our discussion later about the changes coming with iOS, but my biggest thing has kind of always been a holistic full funnel marketing strategy. And in order to do that, when you're working with all of these brands, you really need to have a high level holistic approach to that. And in order to do that, you have to be good at everything. So my wife will be the first one to tell you that it's been a long journey and a lot of time invested. It's still, even to this day, 6-7 days a week. I read constantly, just always trying to learn and get better because the digital marketing is so ever evolving and it's changing. And in order to really be the best, you have to stay on top of it.
I'd agree. The curious learning, and you got to be willing to do the work. It's never, if you get to the work and get to a plateau and then it's just the same every day, that probably end up being boring for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, I would say I'm the best at every single thing, but, I know how to do email extremely well. I know how to do SEO extremely well, Amazon extremely well, Facebook, Google Ads, YouTube, Snapchat. I mean, when you're good at one platform, especially on the ad platforms, a lot of them are very similar or the same. It kind of cross correlates, in my opinion. It's just kind of figuring out the platform and how to do it. But the media buying skills and attribution and all that doesn't really change as long as you know what the platform uses and how it goes.
That's interesting. So then what platforms were you using in 2020 and approximately what type of ad spend were you managing or influencing?
Facebook ads, Google ads, done Snapchat, done Pinterest. Primarily the two biggest in terms of, and it obviously depends on the brand and kind of their level of spend and kind of what their KPI goals are. But I've always found about 90, probably 9% of the time, the two biggest revenue drivers for any brand are obviously going to be Facebook and they're going to be Google. Like those two, the machine learning on those are far superior than Snapchat and Pinterest. I always approach the other two as kind of secondary lift. So more of middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, starting that out and slowly working into top funnel as ad spend grows with the brands. And obviously it's dependent on the brand, but primarily it's going to be Facebook and Google are the two number ones. If their brand fits for Amazon, I always people are always kind of worried about going into Amazon, but Amazon is such an easy platform to get on and it really doesn't cost you anything. It's kind of like having an affiliate program. You only pay if you get a sale. So it's really beneficial for the brands. Some brands like it, some don't, because it pulls away from their web growth because they're going to the big conglomerate. And then obviously I'm a big firm believer in organic SEO through not only social, but like the search engine as well. I think that's very, very underutilized and a lot of brands don't. Because it is so much work and it is a very extreme high level of understanding of how to get to rank those pages on specific words. But in terms of ad spend, I mean, we're well into the multi seven figures for sure across everything.
Yeah, I always thought with SEO, it was like, I'm gonna have to get some people to build all these backlinks. Screw
Yeah,
it. That's
yeah,
basically the thought process. I'm like,
yeah,
backlinks. And then I just
yeah.
move on
And
to the
that's
next topic.
obviously there's shady and everything, but SEO's always had kind of a, when you think of black hat, most people think of SEO because it's shady link building. And, honestly, when I first started in 2008, kind of the mentality and the approach that we've taken to backlink building, and not only on site, honestly, it hasn't even really evolved. It's pretty much stayed the same, even though some of the on-site tactics have obviously involved, but in terms of backlink building, it's just building extremely high quality links to the relevant pages you want, but vetting these sites for their specific metrics. Like I see a lot of people going out there buying links on a website that has at the top it says advertise here, and then you click it and it says, yeah, you can, we'll sell you a link for $250. Like if you don't think Google's index crawler sees that and like
Yeah.
devalues those links, like we would never buy a link on that.
Mhm.
That's just like a dead number one giveaway. Just don't do it. But I think that market gets a bad rap, and it's more of a long-term strategy. Obviously, paid ads is really easy to roll out. You can roll out ads today, you're getting sales tomorrow. SEO is a long-term investment strategy. I always push it as like a 401k. More compounding interest money you put into it, more interest you're going to build later. And yeah,
So that's a complement of all the different platforms. It sounds like they all can kind of work together.
well, that's why Wicked was created, right?
That's why, we had to had to track it somehow.
More
So with
important than
top,
ever now.
yeah, with top, middle, and bottom of the funnel, are you more ecom brands? And if so, I mean, is top funnel lead gen and bottom sales? And then what do you call middle, or
Yes.
how do you approach
So
those different pieces? Because everyone's got
I,
different opinions. So I
yeah,
like to
I'm
hear.
a firm believer in, like, people always ask me, you only do ecom, right? To me, ecom and lead gen are the same. It's the same strategy. The media buying strategy is the same. It's just a different end goal. You're trying to capture somebody's information versus capturing a purchase. Like the way you set it up and the way you nurture from the way that we approach a holistic strategy is 100% the exact same, just a different end goal, trying to, get the phone call or whatever. But we do both. In terms of like top of funnel is going to be prospecting people that are not familiar with the brand, have never seen the brand, never engaged, have not engaged on Instagram or Facebook or things like that. Middle of funnels, we usually push into kind of your repeat customers coming back and also those who have engaged. So that kind of includes the retention as well of repeat. And then your bottom of funnel is going to be those who visited the site, added the cart, abandoned product, abandoned the view on the product page and not made it to cart, things of that nature that are more down funnel, that are more likely and not to convert, obviously.
So with Pin and Snap, can you get bottom of the funnel a lot of success there? Do you got to do more lead capture and then close them somewhere else, or what do you find has worked with what you've done?
You can, and here's the problem that I've seen with Snapchat. I remember, like, I don't know, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago when we had that big brand on your platform, there was a lot of like question, like Wicked showed a lot of incrementality from Snapchat. The Snapchat platform literally showed all view, no sales, but they were
That's so rare because like Facebook will take credit for you even having a daydream about something.
yeah.
And then
I think
Snap's the other way.
Snapchat has, and I've seen it with a lot of brands. I don't know what is with their attribution, but we were able to see like Snapchat was very, very successful in driving conversions. But when the client would look at Wicked and then he's going and looking at Snapchat, he's like, Snapchat doesn't show anything. It's not possible. And it's like, dude, the sophistication and platform of Wicked reports is far superior than what Snapchat has built for attribution. Like it is 100% incremental and it is helping drive sales. And it was just at that point, top of funnel can work for Snapchat if the offer, and I think it fits the demographic. Pinterest is really, really heavy on attribution. Like it'll claim everything as well because they even have, I think, like a 90-day view. I think it even goes out to now.
90-day view.
I believe that, well, they have like a 30, 30, 30. So you can do 30 click, 30 view, whatever. So you can really look at it from multiple different avenues. Bottom of funnel works pretty good there as well. It's just a matter of, again, a lot of it is on the offer. And if that offer fits with the demo of Pinterest, because a lot of people, go to Pinterest not to buy, but just to save things to their board. So has to be something that I think the time to purchase on those platforms is a lot longer. It's a lot longer of a nurturing process versus like Facebook and Google seem to just convert a lot quicker.
Well, so 2021, let me ask you one more thing then. So what's going to evolve from the channels? Is it still business status quo, or, I mean, is the Apple IFDA news going to, change your strategies and the platforms some?
For some of the brands, yes, because I think a lot of the brands do look at specific, like wanting to just use Facebook's platform because they don't want to have a third party payment out there for like a platform like Wicked. They don't want to pay for it. But what we're telling brands right now is, number one is it's really hard to push spend into to know what's working. Like with Wicked, you're able to see true attribution and actually what's incremental. And like what we're telling people with the new iOS is you almost can't afford not to have it, because you're not going to attribute sales. Number one, you're not going to attribute sales, and they're not going to be attributed properly. And you're only going to capture now going forward, once this rolls out, from what I can see, is only a very small portion of those sales, even if you're using server to server,
Yeah, that's the really crazy thing, is that even if you figure out and want to give Facebook credit and it's your data and send it to Facebook, they can't report on it or use it. It's just, that seems a little extreme. And maybe there's going to be some give and take there. I imagine they'll use that to help project. They're going to have to do sampling and probability. So if you're sending them, hey, you guys are only showing 20 sales here, but our conversion API found 30 more. You got to figure Facebook's still, well, I mean, technically they're not supposed to do anything with that, but how are they not going to use that in the probability?
Is that go for offline?
Only people in a dark room in Facebook are going to know that answer.
Yeah. Does that go for offline conversions as well, though? Like if they opted out and that's associated with that profile, can they report the offline conversion?
So that's interesting. So we already have offline conversions wired up. So one idea I had that whoever wants to, a couple people hopefully are going to be testing it for us, is you could choose the optimization objective of store visits and then send up offline conversions. And that uses that that'll machine learn on offline conversions. And that algorithm understands, hey, things are uploaded a day late because it's, offline technically.
Yep.
But we use it so we're going to have both pipes available, and whichever one works, people can, we have offline available now. And then the conversion API will be February, and you can pick your poison, or you shoot both in if you want.
That's what we've done for a lot of brands, is we've just ran web server to server and then just did offline and automated it. When you guys roll that out, or you already have it rolled out?
Yeah, we got offline, so we'll be rolling the online one next month.
We would just kind of compare the difference in loss of attribution from offline to that. And a lot of the times if one was greater, then we would pull those numbers specifically. But it's definitely good insight. I think I built that strategy out 2 years ago on AdLeaks. Been doing it for a while.
That was us, 2018. So we find that the pixel over reports by 30%, because in the offline, the match rates are only 70%. So you're already missing 30% of your sales. Facebook can't find the profile, which is puzzling, because you've got all that PII. You're sending them everything. If someone has a purchase, a lot of data points, and Facebook just matches 70%. It doesn't make sense to me, but that's what happens.
Do you guys have your own servers then? Like you probably do for PII purposes and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have to store it hashed, and then we have a key that unhashes it out. And then if you're an admin on your accounts, you're a first-party data administrator, then it's your data, so you can see it. Mm-hmm. And if you're not, then it's hidden. If you're just a different level. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it works. Yeah. So people that don't know, Apple IFDA, I mean, I'll have a whole pod on it, but basically Facebook uses a phone number lookup to help determine its measurement and its conversions. And if users are now able to opt out of tracking, starting with iOS 14.3, which a lot of people, let's say 50% probably will, it's kind of a scary looking indicator. And so the Apple's stance, which is their data so they can do this, is that if you opt out from tracking, you're not allowed to be shown at all in Facebook's system unless Facebook somehow tracks it on their own. Which apparently,
how would that be enforced though? Like Facebook could just say, screw you, Apple, we're going to just show it anyway. And like, what could they do?
So that's why I think with Conversion API, they're going to say, hey, well, this data, if they have web traffic from you also, then they will use that. It just is going to lead to different measurement results. Because right now they have an algorithm that's pinging your phone number, getting this stream of all kinds of things and plucking out attribution from there. I mean, that's the logical way they're probably doing it. And
it's
now
amazing
they're
how
not going to have that stream. So everything that's scrolled on my phone or done on my phone now possibly is not going to be able to be used. But anything, so that means desktop campaigns should still be accurate. You omit Safari users. So they're going to extend this to the web too. Not right away, but so it's coming, by the end of the year. That probably.
Do they have a rollout date for this? Have they put out an official date?
I think it's January 22nd, give or take, because Facebook said same day breaking API changes, and they haven't told us what they are. So it's gonna be a big week for us, scurrying around.
I know on the 7th they have that big webinar.
They'll spell it out so they've been vague, but what they've said is they're getting rid of view through and going to 7-day click based on the date of the conversion. It used to be, 28-day click from the time of the impression or the click.
Right.
And instead it's from the converting event.
That's good for brands, bad for agencies, because I know a lot of agencies get paid on percentage of revenue, and they're probably getting paid on 7/1 or 28/1.
Probably 28. It's got to be.
Yeah, 28/1. So their checks are I can already see checks taking a hit if you're on a percentage of revenue or a ROAS based model.
I've always felt that Facebook was over optimistic short term, but under optimistic long term, because you pull all those leads. So you got different strategies for different parts of the funnel. So let's say you have a strong email game and you're grabbing Facebook emails, and then they convert, 2-3 weeks down the road, and then they're subscribers to whatever, recurring box, ecom box or whatever you got going. Those leads are worth way more money than Facebook gives itself credit for. It's not that Facebook's going to go away as a bad platform for ads. It's just not going to be designed for measurement. It's just not. I mean,
have you ever dived into Facebook's attribution platform?
A little. I just noticed it was never giving too much credit to other channels. So I was.
Yeah, it's very high level.
It wasn't great. Because to me, when you're optimizing a high performing campaign, you dig in and you say what ad set ad combos are killing it. Or if you're doing Google, what audiences or keywords. Yeah. You move the spend there on a high campaign that could have 100 keywords. Probably 10 of them are making the money.
Yep.
Or same with ad sets. You probably got 4 or 5 good ones out of the dozen in there.
Yep.
So it's going to be huge.
I just optimized a Google Ads account. I only had 7 or 8 campaigns, and there's so many data points. It took me literally, I kid you not, 9 hours to optimize it from top to bottom, from every single gender and age, doing bid adjustments on gender, on age, on every single audience, because we run observation, and we'll run every single in market and interest, and because you can obviously, which is something a lot of people don't do, but it's 1,100 audiences. So going in there and bid adjusting all of those.
1,100.
Yeah, you can get 1,100, so you can bid adjust, and then you build if you build about 100 remarketing audiences based on different time frame windows, like cart, 7-day, 14, 21, 28, and then you roll in all of Google's intent and interest based, comes out to 1063 or something. So
that's a lot of thing to weed. And out of that, it's always 80-20 rule and everything. Perry Marshall wrote that Pareto 80-20 book. It's true though. In everything there's 80-20. And it's same thing with the audiences. Those audiences, some of people those are really strong machine learning audiences in some cases. Not always, but some. Yeah. So that's not a risk because that's all owned by Google. So Google for lead gen, they're really pushing lead gen and lifetime value. So their algorithms are optimizing towards that.
Have you seen anything based around if this will affect Google Analytics?
I haven't seen, they haven't said a peep yet. I got my partner manager meeting next week, so I'll share along what I get from them, but they've been very quiet.
I haven't heard anything if it affects them at all. There was a chat going on in AdLeaks and they were basically saying, just leverage UTMs. Wicked just uses UTMs. Well, it uses more than that. Obviously, it's not just you're leveraging UTMs like Google Analytics, but my first reaction was, is analytics going to be affected by this? Because how is that going to come into play with that? Because, I will say this, most of the brands that we run traffic to, Android doesn't convert. iOS, when I think of Android anymore, I think of, and it depends on the offer, obviously, but it's usually, in my opinion, and hopefully you don't have an Android device, lower income people, I see people going to Walmart and just buying here we have track phones. Mm-hmm. We see a lot better ROAS and a lot better scale on iOS and Apple devices. Not so much not so much Safari versus Chrome, but just Apple devices in general, whether they're using one browser or not. But I mean, yeah, like how is that going to be affected is your just complete Google Analytics of measurement. If you're just one of those brands that doesn't use anything and solely relies on analytics and Google attribution, are you going to be affected? And like you said, I haven't seen anything even from our partner reps, not one word.
No, I mean, we get into the Google, they have this high level API partner program. We get in because we do first party data conversions and push them into Google ads. So, they're, because they like to optimize on, if you pick the right bid strategy, it'll optimize either on the count or on the value, one or the other. It's not both.
Right.
So depending on, if you're a volume player, you're a high value sales, then you have to pick the right, target ROAS is what you should pick if you're doing on value. You've got a high end product, and then you can max CPA if you're doing count. And that's pretty much.
Funny story on that. We've actually, for one brand we've tested, and they have a lower AOV, pretty low because it's more of a consumable product like in Walmart. But we've tested max conversions versus target CPA and target ROAS, and every single time, which I've never really seen it, but as of late, max conversions is actually winning without a max CPC limit applied, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah. So they max conversions will just try to get volume. It doesn't. So if they have people, so if it's a lower end product and the Android users are lower income, for example, it'll throw the ad up on there more versus, if it's higher end. I've got the one guest on the podcast next week is the Google conversion tracking product manager. So so if you get any questions, I got a huge sheet of questions for.
I just would like to know how we're going to be affected. Like, they haven't put anything out around, is Tag Manager going to be, like, if you leverage Tag Managers, that can be a way around it. I know now some people I've even seen are trying to come up with Tag Manager server to server, and they think that's going to be fixed. I've seen like a couple threads about that. Nothing on analytics, nothing on, and really Apple hasn't really said anything either, because even the pop-up, I think they show it specifically even calls out, I think, only Facebook, if I'm not mistaken, from Tim Cook. So Snapchat, okay. I did get an email from Pinterest the other day that basically said they are going to be affected, and the way around it is going to be is to use email match back. So basically server to server via email match. Okay, great. Well, how do you roll that out? Because most people on Shopify, which is a large portion, are using just the standard, Pinterest app, which just injects the code. Well, that doesn't
post them back.
And they don't have a way to do it yet. We're working on it. Okay, well, work faster.
And then the post, and then the post back's still going to work like a pixel. Everyone's going to have the same post back on, thank you.html from Shopify, and all of them are going to grab credit for the same sale.
Yeah. And then, when you get into like the big brand stuff, like they struggle. And I'm sure as you work with some of the bigger brands, like maybe you've even from some of your custom inject methods with Wicked that are not Shopify or WooCommerce, but primarily where I live and play now is more of like big commerce and custom. When you get to that level of dealing with the big boys, the development is so much slower, right? And it's going to be like, okay, go get this in, and it's like usually it takes to get a pixel placed, it can take weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to get one pixel placed. So it'll be very interesting to see on how fast those brands can pivot. If analytics is going to be affected, are you going to have to custom code something, or are they just going to roll out a new script that you have to place, or Google and because those brands move slow.
My prediction is all hell break loose right around Valentine's Day, because let's say that the change hits like January 21 and used to the 28-day look forward click. All of a sudden you got the 7-day look back, and it hits you for 2-3 weeks where your performance drops. And all of a sudden, third week, you're like, oh shit, I have to deal with this. This is a code red. Because then, then when the big boss getting the ROI reports to be like, why is the ROI plummeting? It's this iOS thing. What do we have to do? Do it. And so we're predicting, my prediction is chaos starting Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
In a good, so the people that are dealing with it ahead of time are going to already be like, because then people are going to pull back their spend because they're going to freak out. And then hopefully click prices will drop, and then the people that are already well positioned just be gobbling things up. That's what I think.
It's primarily just cookies that are affected with this?
Yeah. Well, the cookieless world's coming when the browsers come 2022, the changes. So Apple pointed to this WebKit URL, which we'll put in the show notes. The way they're moving the Safari browser is it's click-based first-party data conversions only. So that's music to my ears. 'Cause that's what we built Wicked on, but they're moving towards that. So why Facebook's getting in trouble is because they're using it for all sorts of purposes. They're taking your phone stuff and using it for all kinds of reasons, but it wasn't like they were being all evil. You were allowed to do it and it was good data. So they did it,
Yeah.
I'm not of the opinion pile on Facebook like they were the devil here. It was like, hey, you had an API endpoint. We started using it. We had value and everyone's rising tide was lifting all boats.
Right.
So, but now it's Tim Cook specifically said opaque third-party use was this big call out, which that's kind of opaque statement.
Well, they're rolling out their own. There's a post on it today. I think even in AdLeaks, I saw it. They're rolling out their own advertising platform.
They got to be.
They are. There's a thing in there, like in the beta thing or whatever, you can see where that it says like it's a picture of a phone screen and it says Apple advertising, and then it gives like a statement about it to opt in or out. So a lot of the belief that I've seen is like this is geared towards them setting up their own advertising platform to take a huge portion of that revenue.
Yep. It makes total sense that that's what they'd be doing. Mm-hmm. So with all this going on, I got just 2-3 more questions here for you. Now, how important is it to ad buy across, multiple platforms?
More important than ever, not only next year, but in the last few years. And I think that's one of the biggest, I can't tell you how many times I've come on and seen brands only buying on one platform. They don't even, and the agencies doing the media buying don't know how to do Google or don't know how to do anything else, holistic approach anymore, just because as these platforms are changing, attribution's getting narrower, it's going more towards a click mentality, which honestly I think is really good, not only for agencies because they have to learn how to become better media buyers, which is going to make them better, but also for brands because they're not going to get to take advantage of by media buyers that don't know what they're doing. Because as of next year, like you said, now you have to look specifically at click-based incrementality only. Like that view is gone, which I think a lot of brands just get hung up on looking at what's in platform and say, oh, looks great. Well, we always look at view, but we don't optimize towards view. We always have optimized towards what's actually incremental, which is going to be your click-based attribution. So I think while it sucks, it's actually going to be really good in the brands or the agencies that can pivot and be able to learn multiple platforms. I think will be less affected because I think D2C brands are going to want to, and that's why I've always, going back to the first question of why I've invested so much time in learning and trying to be good at everything, is just because it makes you a better media buyer once you understand pieces of that. Because you can, number one, when you're on calls, you can advise, like
that helps to know what you're talking. Helps to know what you're talking about.
It does, because a lot of the people, they're so highly focused on one platform. They know Facebook. Well, then an issue arises, and a lot of the times on calls, it's like, oh, we have an issue with Klaviyo. Great, everybody on the call is silent, and I speak up and say, I can fix that. Send me the info because I understand it. I'm not just hyper focused. So I think it's good. While it sucks, it's going to be good for everyone all around. It's just going to probably cause, like you said, a lot of panic and chaos. But it's what me and you have been doing for years.
This is going to be, this will be a huge, huge dramatic Q1, but people that are dealing with now are going to be fine. And people that aren't are going to be really freaking stressed out.
Yeah. And even if you're not dealing with it, it's just a matter of knowing how to deal with it. Like some of the brands, we don't deal with it, but I know that if I need to deal with it for them, I don't have to go and learn it and try to understand it. I can literally just say, okay, let's go, sign up, let's roll it out. We're good to go. So more of just being educated, and knowing how to deal with it.
Because I feel like you've got to start doing lead gen, because first party data is going to be everything. Because you need that for targeting, and no one knows how much it's going to affect targeting, and it won't be right away. But come like July, August, when all the the Apple phone data is getting more and more stale, that you're going to need data to target, and your own data you still can use. So
do you think they're going to roll out a fix? Do you think there's going to be like a patch that comes for this? I mean, like this was the same thing with going from a third party cookie to a first party cookie.
They've got to be up to something. What are they going to do? Just kiss 40 billion away in ad spend? No way.
I don't know. Well, and that was a lot worse because now Facebook, in my opinion, they rolled out specific ad campaigns targeting Apple. Even
they spent $1 billion on PR. So it's going to hurt. They wouldn't have spent $1 billion on just complaining. Yeah. They're hoping to get it overturned, which who knows, I think the world's moving towards more privacy. So I don't think they really have a big argument other than it's not fair to us.
Yeah. Well, not only us, but the small, like the small guy that
Well, the
highly
small guy needs clicks that turn into real people in their systems. So the move isn't terrible.
yeah.
If it's just short-term pain though.
But it causes again, the small guy doesn't have access to usually the levers like myself or like Tim Bird or other agencies that have the type of understanding because they charge more, right? So
Mm-hmm.
they've been able to get by with in-platform attribution, and they're growing, they're doing good, but they haven't got to that level of spend where that mindset has to shift. Because number one, they can't afford it. Number two, they don't understand it. Number three, they probably, it's kind of like those brands that Facebook is putting in their ad campaigns, like local burger shops or this or that are growing. I mean, it's when your budget's only $4,000 or $5,000 a month and you have to go spend the $600-700 or 500 or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
that's can be impactful to the little guy. So yeah, it definitely be interesting.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Because those people, particularly the local advertisers, when they're just, targeting 3 towns,
they don't understand attribution.
Yeah, they're not going to get in there. I mean,
no,
that isn't going to be fair for them. If suddenly they have less reach because of this and less business, and they're like, it's caught between Apple and Facebook, pissing contest.
Yep.
That sucks.
Yeah, it'll be, I mean, and a lot of those businesses have already had a hard enough time this year as it is. Thankfully I'm past that and I'm able to work with some of the bigger brands that I've been fortunate enough to partner and work with now. So it definitely will be interesting to see how that affects them. And I do feel for them because that's where I started, when I shifted from an affiliate, it was dealing with local. When I worked with my very first agency back in, 2011 or 12, it was local, a lot of e-com, some affiliate, but really like I personally, and still to this day, get more benefit of providing growth to a local business than I do like being for the big conglomerate and providing, when you look at their KPI numbers and you do your weekly Excel docs, pivot tables, and yes, some people are still doing that. Not automated. I'm still pulling weekly reports. When you do that, it's not as impressive as saying, oh, we did $500,000 in revenue, 200,000 in spend, whatever, versus going to the little guy and say, oh, we spent 1,000 and we drove 15,000 in revenue for a local small person, that struggles to get by. Yeah. Like to that day, that still touches me more than the big stuff. But obviously, more money, more opportunity to learn, and it makes you just a better media buyer in general when you're able to work on those calipers of brands. So,
mm-hmm. So tell us about your agency and then AdLeaks, where I first encountered you.
Yeah. So AdLeaks, I went to a mastermind back in, I think it was 2 years ago. And I met Tim and was working with just internally with like a local agency, I think at the time it was, and met Tim, was very active in the group when it first started rolling out. I've always been very active. And obviously we've been working internally on some things over the last year, but there was a lot of focus and planning that went pre that. So I was surprised Tim hit me up one day because I think I was I was asking the most questions at the mastermind. And I think when Tim first met me, he's like, this guy knows the stuff. He should maybe be up here teaching some of the stuff, because I was the one grilling and asking questions and like, oh, did you ever think of doing this and this? And probably getting the presenters pissed at me. But, then it was like, oh, hey, do you want to, just come in and help moderate and run the community and help, be a part of the team that can help grow it. And I look at it as I love it because that's where I've been able to take most of my knowledge and growth from, like, is being in the community. Because when something happens, like for example, the other day, Snapchat rolled out, they're not making you optimize towards 50 conversions anymore. Like they did away with that. Like it was posted in the community and I knew about it before even in Snapchat even released a statement about it. Like it's just a really, really good place where all of your high level media buyers, some of which, spend way more than I do, are not afraid to help make people better. It's not about, oh, pay me for me to tell you this. It's more about people actually caring and they've seen what they have got and they give back. And Tim did a really, really good job of just building that community and that place for that. And that's kind of how AdLeaks has kind of fruition. And now we just finishing out, we're rolling it out, I think at the end of this week, but we made basically our own, it's kind of like Netflix, I guess, for courses and right now, all of our education and training is housed in Facebook, which is a little bit unorganized and it's just not the best structure. So the developer ended up building our own custom platform, which is probably a long time in the making, well over a year and a half. And, we have 30 full A to Z courses that we're going to be rolling out and doing that people have kind of put forth based on Pinterest, SEO, brand positioning, organic growth, just all
That's
kinds
going
of
to be
stuff.
cool. Yeah, no, I love the group. It's very intelligent. It's well moderated. You do a good job moderating. That's why I like it. Like everyone was blab about the same topic. You tie it into one post. That's
Yeah.
such a better, instead of my account got banned, my account got banned. Like,
Well, that's ad buyers.
that stinks that happens, but we don't need to see 7 posts on it. We need to see
And
one.
that's another reason AdLeaks was born, because Tim originally started the Facebook ad buyers group, which is 125,000 members, I think. So it's huge, and it got to the point where and that still goes on. It's hard to moderate a group that big. Like we have 15, 20 mods, and it's still, things get missed or they sit for a while because people just come in and spam, will get rich quick, they can make you $500 in 10 minutes. But that's why AdLeaks was born, and that's why it's paid invite, like go through an interview. We like look at kind of your level, and we have, as of right now, we have the platinum and the gold, but it was because people got sick of exactly what you're talking about. Constantly just newsfeed being jammed with that crap. So
yeah, so you do a great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a great resource.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I mean, this can be
Yeah.
a great app for people, and I look forward to sharing it with them. It's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it, man.
Take it easy.
Yeah, you too. Bye.